Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. You are listening to Encouragementology, and we are talking about dealing with frustration in a positive way. How are you dealing with your frustration these days? Letting it out, keeping it in, channeling it in a negative direction, stress eating, stress napping, or caught in a constant yin-yang struggle of gloom and doom meets silver lining. One thing is for sure, these are stressful and uncertain times. It's hard to be so strong every day when you're navigating a storm. Every happy-go-lucky type can have bad days. Frustration is a part of stress and worry and a natural emotion. Before you succumb completely, let's explore positive alternatives to this life's challenge, shall we? So let's see what we're dealing with here. Frustration, the feeling of being upset or annoyed, especially because of the inability to change or achieve something. Nailed it. We are definitely experiencing something we can't change immediately. Have there been other times in your life where you have been stuck in an impossible situation? If you're remembering a specific time, how did you get through it? How were you able to overcome that situation? Sometimes we have to be reminded of the power that we have, especially in what appears to be a powerless situation. The power to adjust, accept, navigate, modify, and overcome. You did one of those things to be able to talk about it today. No one wants to be sad, in a bad mood, angry, depressed, or frustrated. Sometimes the feelings are overwhelming, and we can't see what lies just beyond success. It seems so far away and unobtainable. Why bother, right? Wrong. You have the power to dig yourself out or prop yourself up. There is a silver lining in everything. You just have to get to the right vantage point to see it. Dr. Juliana Brianis is a social and health psychologist whose research examines how self-compassion relates to stress reactivity, behavior change, and body image. She tells us that even through suffering, you can find a silver lining. You can become more compassionate and less judgmental. Don't we all need to do that? Experiencing suffering yourself can make you more compassionate towards others who are suffering as well. Often, when witnessing others' hardships, people look for reasons to blame the victim. He's struggling financially because he doesn't work hard enough, or she's sick because she worked too hard and didn't take care of herself. Reducing their own sense of vulnerability, I would say. But when you've suffered deeply, you're more likely to recognize that everyone is vulnerable and that bad things happen to good people all the time. Someone else's suffering no longer represents a threat, but it can be a source of connection and even kinship. You discover that you're stronger than you thought you were. In the early stages of a negative life event, you may think to yourself, there is no way I can get through this. But somehow, day by day, you manage to put one foot in front of the other despite the pain you may feel. One of the things that hardship does is show you your strength, the strength you didn't know you had until it was really tested. Supporting this idea, research on effective forecasting suggests that we tend to overestimate how devastated we'll be by negative life events and how long the pain will last. In other words, we're more resilient than we think. You definitely learn who your true friends are. In difficult times, certain relationships are likely to deepen while others may fade away. Discovering that some people are fair weather friends, disappearing when you need them most, can be painful. But it's also an opportunity to develop a new appreciation for the people who stuck around and focus your energy on those relationships. Research suggests that sometimes even weaker social ties, people you weren't very close to in the beginning, can rise to the occasion and prove to be very supportive in high-stress situations. So keep your eyes open for those people. You get greater clarity on what you want in life. Sometimes a crisis can jolt you into reevaluating your life in a major way. It can force you to ask yourself if you're really doing what makes you happy and spending your time how you want to and with the people you want to. Jarring as these revelations can be, they can push you to make positive changes that may not have seemed like realistic possibilities before. For one reason or another, maybe fear of failure, concerns about what other people would think, or just the inertia of status quo. But these factors just don't carry as much weight when the reality of life is fragile and unpredictable. You find joy in unexpected places. When your world is shaken up, it can cast a dark cloud over everything, making it difficult to enjoy what you once enjoyed. But sometimes joy can sneak up on you in the most unexpected ways and remind you that there is still beauty in the world despite all the suffering. Now, I'm a positive person who always looks for the silver lining. You know the one. Sometimes you seek them out because they can help you find the good in the bad. And sometimes you run from them because they never RSVP for your pity party of one. But still, they have the unique ability to let things go and radically make a switch to problem solving when things get rough. Yep, that's me. It's the main reason I became a life and recovery coach. For years, friends and acquaintances would say, "Don't you ever get down?" Or, "How are you able to just let things roll off your back and move on?" The only thing I can tell you is, I don't like to be in a bad mood. I don't like to be sad or frustrated. I need and desperately want to be happy, so as a result, I don't stay stuck. At least not for long. That doesn't mean that I don't have bad days or that I don't get stressed out. I do. I just don't stay there very long. I have a moment of pause and reflect, and then I move into problem-solving mode and get to work. There is always another idea. You just have to be open to exploration. Recently, I was feeling anxious and frustrated. Seeing the world suffer, being unable to fix the problem, unable to gather with the people you love, and prevented from being there for the people who need it the most just feels unfair. I had and may still have restless feelings. Like an animal in a cage just pacing back and forth, back and forth. Yes, happy to be alive, but unable to fulfill a purpose. It has given me a lot of time to reflect and forced me to a new vantage point to see the bigger picture. People need people. And no matter what we do, what we produce to simulate that experience, it will never replace the benefits of human-to-human contact, love, and support. My hope is that we all come to this conclusion and fight not to lose it in everything that we do. Chances are you already know that love is better for your health than hate or indifference, and the quality of your relationships can affect whether you struggle or thrive. It's impossible to manufacture the joy, resilience, optimism, and general well-being that naturally stem from surrounding ourselves with love and support rather than criticism and mistrust. And it isn't only the receiver of love and support who benefits. Research tells us, and we say it here all the time, the health of the giver benefits as well. True, it can be difficult to maintain an atmosphere of love and support when we're constantly bombarded by the voices of those who stir up hate and controversy. But we don't have to allow self-righteousness, anger, fear, suspicion, and competition to rule our thoughts and actions. We don't have to be reactive. We can be proactive, purposefully, and mutually accepting the role of my neighbor's keeper. We can show love toward the enemies that we are being encouraged to hate. Clearly, giving to others is healthy for our community, vital to our survival. Finding ways to give support and connect during these trying times can add to your frustration. Remember when I said a better vantage point? It's easy to get frustrated and feel defeated when you feel you're going at it alone. You're just here digging away in the ditch by yourself or macheting your way through the jungle on a solo mission. But newsflash, we are all facing challenges right now. You are not alone, even if your proximity to another person begs to differ. A friend of mine gave me a visual from another vantage point. Instead of thinking that we are all in the same boat, dealing with exactly the same things, consider this. We are all in the same storm, but in different boats. A crisis can impact each person differently, but still, the person is impacted. Finding a new vantage point means getting above your own cause and effect and trying to empathize with the world around you. Everyone is looking for a diversion right now. I'm learning the violin and Spanish and knitting a sea of scarves. I'm also getting outside and appreciating nature. What a better reminder that things are going to be okay than the changing of the seasons with a nice, slow, stunning rollout. I'm also reconnecting with my thoughts. Just over a month ago, I was not only burning the candles at both ends, but I had all of them on fire. I had almost all day, every day planned out. If I wanted to fit in some me time, I had a few spots left, or I could try and move something around. I love to be busy and productive, but is that what I was doing? I felt overwhelmed, but I couldn't let anything go. I needed to be in charge of everything on my schedule to feel good about myself and to feel like I was doing my part. Fast forward, and it's an intentional reminder that you can't do it all. And guess what? You shouldn't try anyway. Life still goes. It goes on whether you're running 90-0 to stay ahead or you're barely keeping up. It still goes. How do you want to participate? I'm always talking about a healthy balance, everything in moderation, even moderation. But I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. I was frustrated. When you get the nudge, a simple reminder, or a hammer over the head, take notice. Your body and your mind are trying to tell you something. Also, the universe and your higher power might be redirecting your trajectory. But if you're so bullheaded to believe you have life figured out, well then, frustration is inevitable. Getting out of your own head and focusing on someone else might be the right type of diversion at a time like this. Let's crawl up to a higher spot to get a better vantage point of what's going on around us. This will help us deal with our frustration in a positive way. Did you know that empathy can be learned? For many, it's inherent, but for some, it may take some extra effort. There are many benefits to practicing empathy. Empathizing with others can help you feel less lonely and more connected. It can also increase the likelihood that people will reach out and help others when they need it. In addition to boosting social connectedness and increasing helping behaviors, empathizing with others also improves your ability to regulate your emotions during times of stress. Feeling empathy allows you to better manage the anxiety you're experiencing without feeling overwhelmed. Listening to others, engaging in acts of service, observing the empathetic actions of others, and imagining yourself in another person's situation are all strategies that can help build empathy. Here are some other things you can do to try to stay empathetic even when it feels like staying in touch with other people is more difficult than ever. From Allison Kasinkota for Very Well Mind. Stay connected. In a time when people are practicing social distancing, self-isolation, and quarantine, it's all too easy to turn inward and focus solely on yourself or your family unit. But research suggests that caring about others is one of the best ways to fight feelings of isolation. Showing empathy and engaging in helpful actions, whether it's donating to charity or writing a supportive note to a friend, can increase your feelings of social connectedness. So while you may be keeping your physical distance from others to prevent the spread of anything, it doesn't mean you need to be emotionally distant. Show concern and stay connected to the people in your life. Be aware. Consider some of the ways this crisis has affected your life. Are you working from home or on paid leave? Are your kids out of school due to closures? Do you have plenty of food in your pantry and freezer? Now, think about how others might answer those same questions depending on their situation and circumstance. Many people have lost their jobs and are out of work. Others have no choice but to continue working. Some people are worried about how to find childcare as they continue to work, and many may be struggling to find or pay for the basic necessities. Empathy and understanding are a critical part of compassion, and more importantly, action. Think of others and look for ways that you can help. Be kind. Take it easy on yourself and others. It's okay if you aren't managing to do it all. It's okay if your kids are watching a little too much TV or if you aren't keeping up with your usual routines. It's a lot to deal with, and everyone copes with stress, anxiety, and fear differently. Cut yourself some slack and practice self-compassion. Working parents are struggling to manage kids who are home all day now that many schools have closed. Not only is the work situation unsettled, but parents are also trying to help kids with distance learning. Those working in healthcare and finance are busier than ever. Not only are they dealing with the stress of being on the front line of a public health crisis, but they also may be struggling to find someone to watch their own children while they are at work. We all have our own anxieties, but that doesn't mean we should lose our kindness in the face of a crisis. Be considerate. Sometimes we may be quick to criticize others without making the effort to understand how their situation and experiences are impacting their choices. Yes, it's easy to lob criticism at others in a time of crisis, particularly those who don't seem to be taking the situation seriously. Try to remember that everyone copes differently. People may also feel overwhelmed by conflicting information from news sources or social media. Help others. In the midst of something that seems overwhelming, helping others can provide a sense of control and empowerment. When the world feels unpredictable and chaotic, finding tangible ways to do good and make things better for someone can be a source of comfort. Here are some ways that you can practice empathy. If you're in a financial position where you can stay home, look for ways that you can support others who may be struggling. Offer to help neighbors who may not have the ability to leave their home to get things they may need. Shopping for groceries and household items or ordering extra items from online delivery or pickup are good examples of ways that you can offer tangible assistance. Don't panic buy. If you're overbuying items, you're making it more difficult for others to find what they need. Donate non-perishable goods to food pantries. Put together care packages for healthcare workers, elderly neighbors, or those whose jobs have been affected. purchase gift certificates from restaurants and small businesses that have been affected. Remember those boats in the storm? Frustration can come from every angle, for any reason. Part of practicing empathy is to try and understand your neighbor's frustration may be the same or totally different than yours. Nevertheless, they're still frustrated. During a crisis, the point of impact can come from any direction, in most cases, multiple ones. You might have lost your job as a result of a government shutdown, but your neighbor may have lost a loved one. You might feel slighted by the takeover, but your neighbor is scared by the threat of something they can't see or detect. All of those fears and frustrations are real. Before you judge someone based on their reaction to a crisis, try and put yourself in their shoes. Maybe use this as a connection point, not to ridicule and belittle, but to understand. Fear is real. Loss is long-lived. But frustration can be overcome. When we isolate, we have a tendency to escalate and exaggerate our feelings. Getting worked up when you can't make an immediate change in your circumstance is a snowball effect. Stop. No, really, stop to interrupt this behavior. You are in control of you. No one else knows what's going on in your head. So you want a way out? Find the door. Freeze. Take a snapshot of where you are in your stress. You need to see yourself reacting in order to change directions. Hover above to get a better picture of the mouse maze you are in. Understand. Peel back the stress to find the source. Remember, frustration is the reaction, but what is the cause? In times like these, it may take very little for you to react, so be willing to laugh at yourself. Breathe. Not to put you into some type of yoga routine you aren't ready for here, but breathing is multi-beneficial. You get more oxygen to your brain, but most importantly, it gives you space to react appropriately. Solve. Try to solve your situation instead of adding fuel to the fire. Pity party of one. It's easy to stew the pot by continuing the rumination, but where is the productivity in that? Instead, what can you do now to move on? This may be as simple as changing tasks or moving to another room. You might just need to table it for a better and more accepting time of the day. Square peg in round hole kind of thing. Forgive. It's okay to get frustrated. You are human. Forgive yourself for the mini meltdown and try and learn something. Maybe a trigger point like balancing the checkbook before coffee is a no-no. Or trying to make an elaborate family dinner on a little sleep is a disaster. Just know your threshold, and right now, until you can work through this hump on your journey, avoid it. You have the power to calm, redirect, and learn. When strengthened, a valuable tool you will use often on the road to self-discovery. We are talking about dealing with frustration in a positive way, and I think we've done just that. Hopefully, you've been able to connect to some of the different scenarios. How do you handle stress? It may be different from day to day or maybe hour to hour, actually. Are you one of those ones that just go within and channel your energy more internally in a negative way? Just beating yourself up? Or do you open up and vent to everyone and anyone? Or have you adopted some unhealthy habits, maybe sleeping too long, eating too much? Or are you taking this time to get out, reconnect with nature, add in a little additional exercise into your routine? What is your go-to? As I mentioned, even the happy-go-lucky types, like myself, can find a little frustration during times like this. We talked about the importance of music, putting together a fun playlist that might remind you of an easier time, maybe when you had less responsibility. Those are always the songs that I connect with. We also talked about practicing a little bit of self-compassion, taking it easy on yourself and realizing that these negative events can really add up in your life. It can cause you to judge and criticize, almost like you're frustrated, so you turn on everyone else. A lot of what we hear in the news and read in our social media feeds can exacerbate that situation. So take charge of what you feed your consciousness. Maybe you should unplug for several hours a day and do something a little more productive. Grab a good book, watch a funny comedy or a heartwarming documentary, just to redirect your mind. I talked about the silver lining that is everywhere. You just have to look deeper. And I know some days I have to dig for it, so I'm sure you do as well. But it is there. So that's where we want to focus. Frustration is a feeling of being out of control and not being able to change our circumstances. So if that's the case and you can't change it, you have to change your reaction. We talked about the Rosetta effect. Wasn't that interesting? Just finding out that a group of people living exactly, technically, as those around them had a very, very different outcome. And it all came down to their social responsibility within their community and family. Man, wouldn't that be nice? So many of us today don't even know our neighbors, have never spoken to our neighbors. Someone once reminded me that air conditioning, not having to go outside to get a little fresh air and cool yourself off has really added to that. Even having garage door openers. I never really thought about that, but driving into your driveway and going directly into your house, shutting the garage door behind you and never talking to your neighbors. Most of the time you would pull in, get out, get the mail, walk around your yard, and then go in the house. And there was a time people actually sat on their porches and talked to their neighbors. I know it sounds foreign, but it really did happen. Taking on the responsibility of your neighbors as family may seem like a foreign concept, but definitely one that we should adopt to stay connected. Technology has been great, don't get me wrong. I just had a family Zoom meeting and it was priceless. I think it's something we'll continue in the future since a few of us don't live close. It's also allowed many people to work from home, even students to stay connected to teachers and to extracurriculars. But it doesn't replace human-to-human contact. However, during these times, you can practice empathy, and we talked about that. There are ways that you can reach out. I know I've written many more letters, sent pictures. Find different ways to reach out to those around you, not just in your immediate circle. We also talked how these feelings can escalate when isolated and what we could do to take hold of our reaction. That was to stop, freeze, understand, breathe, solve, and forgive. You have the power to calm, redirect, and learn. If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they are not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Follow us on Facebook for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you, take this time to reflect on your true feelings. Frustration is just a symptom of the inability for immediate change. Redirect to connect and empathize with others to gain a valuable vantage point. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear. That's when I I found you and how I